Hey guys, welcome to the Bin Zone. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Netflix original series Sex Ed, breaking down the characters, the story, and the overall theme of the show so we can get a better understanding of this. And I have to say, I really enjoyed Sex Ed as much as you can enjoy a story about high school and sex without getting too much on the R. Kelly side. But I digress. I did learn a lot about this show. And I learned a lot with this show because in my high school, we didn't really have a sex ed class. So we kind of had to go about it on our own. The closest thing we had was we had this guy come in and give us a lecture. And he told us, I kid you not, if you masturbate and you finish, he told the guys this, if you masturbate and you finish, it's like releasing a bunch of souls out into the ether and void. So you can imagine how traumatizing that could be to a high school kid who doesn't know much about anything. So with that said, I'd love to know about you guys' experience. Let me know in the comment section below. Did you guys have a sex ed class in high school, or are you in high school now and you guys have that class? I'd love to hear your experience about that in the comment section below. But enough of that, let's jump into the show. And the story of the show follows three main characters. We have Otis, Maeve, and Eric. Now, Otis is the primary character and his mom is a sex therapist. So you can imagine how weird and awkward that gets for him in his social life. And his best friend is Eric, who comes from a very religious and strict African family, and he himself is homosexual and likes to dress in women's clothing. So again, you could see that dichotomy and repression in those two characters already. And then we have our third character, which is Maeve. Now, Maeve is a bit of an anomaly because Maeve is an outcast like Eric and Otis. However, Maeve is one of those cool outcasts who chooses to be an outcast, who's too cool to be with the cool crowd, but she's cool in her own right, unlike Otis and Eric, who are total losers. So the show mainly focuses on these three characters and their development and growth throughout the series. So the story pretty much starts off with the school bully Adam, who decides to take 3 Viagra's to try to please his girlfriend because he's having some sort of malfunction down there and he can't seem to finish when he's having sex. So he needs 3 Viagra's. And I have to tell you this, guys, nobody needs 3 Viagra's. I don't care if you're 70 years old and you're limp as a noodle. Never, ever, 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 ever take 3 Viagra's. But Adam takes 3 Viagra's and now he's in a predicament. He's stuck. He has a super rock hard on. So he knows Otis's mother is a sex therapist. So he enlists the help of Otis. So Otis is able to talk to Adam and get Adam to calm down by using things he's learned from his mother, some therapy tricks, and Adam is relieved. When Maeve sees this, Maeve realizes that Otis has a knack for this. So she comes up with the plan that her and Otis start a business, a sex therapy business for high school students because Otis is very knowledgeable. Again, his mother's a sex therapist, so all that knowledge trickled down into Otis. So they begin this lucrative business and Otis starts to fall in love with Maeve. When he gets closer to Maeve, he also gets farther away from Eric, who's dealing with his own troubles because we know how Eric is and we know Eric's family isn't the most open. They're more conservative. So he has his own slew of problems and his best friend Otis kind of shoves him aside for Maeve. When it comes to Maeve, she has her own set of problems. We find out that her father bailed on her when she was a kid and her mother's a drug addict, so she has no idea what she is. So she's dealing with her own problems. Eric has his own problems, and then Otis himself is dealing with his own problems because you can imagine just how much problems you can have when your mother's a sex therapist and your dad ran off. And you're kind of the reason your dad ran off because you found your dad cheating and you told your mom, and that's not a big thing, which runs deep into the character of Otis, which causes his own sexual repression and problems because Otis himself cannot masturbate to completion because he feels icky. And that ties into the sexual development of children. And that is one of the main themes of the show. Beyond the laughing and jokes and all the can't jack off and all of that, all the craziness of the show, it's all about the development of these characters and how personal relationships at home or in school, familiar relationships, can have a bigger impact on your sexual life, especially in a tumultuous time like high school when you're having new hormones, having new feelings, and you have all this regression and repression from your own social life, whether you're gay and your parents don't agree with your lifestyle, whether your father ran off, you blame yourself, whether you're a pseudo orphan and you're an outcast from the school, all of this comes to head. And not just with these characters, we have a lot of other characters who are in their own right flawed characters because of sex and the bigger role it plays, such as Adam, the school bully, who's having troubles with his father, the principal of the school, who he himself is so hard and so strict on Adam, and everything Adam does is never good enough for him. So that builds a repression and regression and a hatred in Adam for his father, which manifests itself in Adam's sex life. That's why he can't finish to completion, or that's why he's always picking on the gay kid. And that's because he has his own sexual urges that he's repressing because he can't seem to function correctly because of the thought of his father and everything his father's doing. So all this comes into hand, and it's not just the kids. Adults suffer from this as well, because we have Otis's mother, Jean, who can't, ever since her husband left her, she's never settled down and had a real relationship. It's one guy out every morning. Otis wakes up to a different guy in his house because his mother's out here just clapping them cheeks. But every morning she has a new partner because she's afraid of commitment, what happened with her husband. And that has an impact on Otis as well. And that also has an impact on Jean's relationship with Jakob, because Jakob is a guy that she meets and she likes, and Jakob isn't like the other guys that she sees. She usually sees guys who have their own problems and has their own sexual issues, ones that she can read, not manipulate, ones that she can read, understand, and get to the bottom of. While Jakob is a guy who is a plumber, he's fixing her house up, but he's doing that. He's also not like these guys. He's different. He's not one you can psychoanalyze, because he's not one of her case studies. He has his own things going on, and he's not totally infatuated with Jean the way other people are obsessed with her because of her skills as a sex therapist, and she really knows how to clap them cheeks. But Jakob is interested in her because he actually likes her for her, and he finds her interesting beyond the bedrooms, because he never really wanted to indulge in that because of his own past relationship and his own life. And that comes around to the overall theme of the show, which is sexual repression and sexual liberation, and the whole psychosis of sex in your development. Whether you're a child or adult, all that plays a deep part. Sex is an intricate part of human nature, and if we repress it or we have other problems in our lives, it can also affect that aspect of our life. And if we don't get our relationships in order, that can have a big negative impact on us overall, because we see throughout the season, Eric has a crisis of what to do with his life because of his sexuality, because of who he is and what he wants to do, his heritage, his parents, the school, just his overall demeanor. No one really understands what he can get into or what he wants to get into, because he doesn't know himself, and that is restricting him. It isn't until the end where he decides that he's going to do what makes him happy, that he's sexually free and he's able to experience experiences that he wants. The same goes for Otis, who, because of his mom and dad, he could never have sex or masturbate to completion. But after he gets to the bottom of this, and after he starts to understand his issue, and he meets Ola, Jakob's daughter, he begins to understand that it's not his fault, and he begins to choose to be happy with Ola, and his relationship with her blossoms because he realizes him and Maeve can't really be because of Maeve's own relationship and her own problems. So when him and Ola get together, that's when Maeve finally decides that she's going to give Otis a try, because deep down Otis has always been the one. But at the end, when she comes to profess her love to Otis, Otis has already moved on to Ola, who was always there for him, who was always supportive. While he did like Maeve and he did so much for Maeve, Maeve never reciprocated. And Ola, on the other hand, was his friend. He likes being around her. He likes hanging out with her. And it's not a gimme relationship like his relationship with Maeve, where all Maeve does is take from Otis and doesn't reciprocate anything. With Ola, it's a back and forth. It's fun, and they connect. And when Maeve realizes that, she tries to get Otis before it's too late, but then Otis is with Ola. That adds more to Maeve's overall problems, because Maeve has an issue with people being close to her. Her parents left, her brother left, and now the closest person who she had, Otis, seemingly left her for Ola. So now she has to deal with her own issues of abandonment, and that's why she seeks so much sexual pleasure so quickly with Jackson, or that's why all those rumors fly around, because of her deep desires and her deep yearning to be with people who want her around. Anyway, guys, that's Sex Ed in a nutshell. I mean, not as interesting as the show, but I do want to hear your thoughts about it in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought about the show, what you didn't understand, anything in the comment section below. I'd love to hear about it in the comment section below. Let me know your feedback, because this show's really interesting. I'd love to get dialogue going on it. And if you liked the video, definitely hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you guys haven't already. And until next time, binge on.